Hello. We're gonna animate a lamp. I have a little lamp animation at the end of this, or the beginnings of one. I'm not gonna go into too much refining of the keyframes to make it smooth. I'll leave that up to y'all once you get your lamp properly rigged and a reference video brought in and some kind of base rotoscope keyframe kind of set up just to get us going. But so yeah, I got this lamp. I'll put a link in the description where I got it from. It's a free lamp OBJ file, but it came in a bunch of different pieces, and I've gone and joined them to where I have 4 main pieces of my lamp, and I've named them kind of like how you would name an arm rig on a full body like character rig base, but it's the shoulder. But then this first stage here is arm, and then I got forearm, and then I have the hand or the head, right? And it's going to function with some inverse kinematics like an elbow and wrist kind of setup would work, or a leg. And so to get started, let's put an armature in here. We got our one armature, and we want to place it where our bone's gonna pivot. Then I'm gonna hit tab to go into edit mode. I'm gonna hit G to move this guy right there. And I'm gonna hit E to extrude to add another link in the armature chain. And then one more coming out of the head here. You see how it's going behind the head? Well, we can go over here to our data panel. As you have your armature selected, viewport display and check in front. That comes in handy a lot, especially if your bones wind up inside the mesh of a character or something, and you still need to be able to see them. And we started at this first joint rather than at the base, because our base is going to kind of, you know, be our anchor and lock us down like a foot. And so this is where the first pivot point is, right? But I'm going to hit E and extrude us out a foot here, and hit X so it stays on the axis. And I'm going to hit G, Z, and bring that down like so. And then I'm going to take this bone and I'm going to want to parent it to that foot. So when we move the foot, the whole armature will move for us. I'm going to hit Command P to make parent and keep the offset, you know, since they're not connected and stuff. Now up here, the way the inverse kinematic keyframing is going to work, this link in the chain, it's going to have the position X, Y, and Z grayed out where you can't keyframe it. So what we're going to need to do is create a little like controller piece or a controller handle that will then kind of control this whole armature. And so by doing that, instead of extruding, we're going to hit Shift D and duplicate. And you can have it offset out here, but when we use our bone constraint, it's going to snap to it. And so you might as well kind of just like line it up. I guess you could adjust the offset, but this might, I don't know, make more sense in the long run as a controller piece, but you'll see. But we want to hit Shift P or just right click. Not, that was Control P, but parent and clear the parents. And clear the parent. So now these guys aren't connected anymore. This one's kind of freestanding. But we do want, and I can scale this guy down. Let's hit G, so it's like a little controller piece. It's not competing for visual priority of our main bones. But we want to have our controller selected, Shift P or Shift click and Control P to parent and keep offset. That way now if we move this base, everything moves. Like I can hit G in, well, not in edit mode, but you'll see over in pose mode, it'll work that way. Which we'll do. Let's switch over to pose mode. And nothing's parented to these quite yet, but if I hit G, you'll see the whole armature moves, right? Moves together. That'll come in handy when it's time to make stuff hot. All right. So now we need to parent our model meshes to the bones. And we'll go over here to our collection panel, select our base, then in our viewport, shift select our armature, Control P, parent to bone. Let's select our upper arm here, shift click, Control P, bone. Right, forearm, shift click, Control P, bone, hand or head. Make sure you select the right one here, Control P, bone. All right. Now I'm going to name this new lamp armature because I have a few different attempts in this file, as you can see. Okay. And now things should, if I hit R, I'm going to hit R and escape as I test these so they just go back to their main position. You can see our lamp pieces move as we rotate the bones. And you don't want to do those all individually every time when it comes to keyframing and animating. So we can add our inverse kinematic bone constraint over here in the bone constraint panel and make it work like how an elbow and a wrist joint works together and the shoulder, and they compensate one another. Inverse kinematics. Okay. And the target is going to be the armature that we're in. New lamp armature is what I've named this. You see I got a bunch of junk in here. New lamp armature. And labeling things comes in handy when you have a bunch of stuff in your file. And what bone? We want it to be this bone. What is that? Bone 4. Let's click that guy. Bone 4. And you see it kind of snap to it there. And the chain length is how many bones the movement will cascade down. So we have 1, 2, 3. So we want our chain length to be 3. And you see it kind of adjusted as we did that there. And we also want rotation controls from our controller. So that way, when we select our controller, we can hit G. And you can see it moving around and working like an arm joint, right? But we can also hit R and rotate it, which is good. I'm gonna hit undo. Undo? Is that right? Back to rotation. Okay. It's usually always 2 moves to do one thing in 3D. Because you're messing with that extra dimension. And let's see, we can go in here. And we also want inverse kinematics in our bone property here. We want to lock X, Y, or Z based on how this bone can move, right? Because we don't want our lamp to be able to do that because that's not how the hinges work, right? So we need to lock this Y axis. Depending on how you generated your armature, it might get switched around whether it's X or Y. But we only want it to work, you know, up, down, left, right based on the lamp's orientation. So we don't want that to happen. So let's see if locking Y does that. G. No. So it looks like X is what we're wanting to lock. X. G. Wait. I was paying attention to the wrong thing. I'm locking the wrong bone. That is what I want though. So let's do it in this order. Lock the Y, G. No, we want to lock the X. Now G. All right, we're locked. And it's also going to be a rotation that we want to lock as well, right? We don't want it twisting around. Well, maybe I'm going to limit my lamp to just up and down. I don't want any of this wide dimension stuff happening. So we're also going to lock IK, XY. Well, maybe it won't rotate as we lock the others. Let's see if that works. I have to look and see where the locking rotation is. I don't know everything, folks. Lock X. Lock X. Lock X. And then now... Ooh. We're still... Is this one different? Would this one not be done through the kinematics, but through the location? The Z, fascinating. Let's see if that's what we need then. Over here, lock the Z. No. There we go. Lock the Z. Now we're only moving how the lamp moves. Right, folks? So we're not going to get lost on our y-axis. It just all kind of depends on the orientation of your lamps. Or your armatures that you're making. Okay. So we're rigged up. We're ready to go. You can hit that guy and that guy. And that's how you'll kind of animate your lamp, by moving and keyframing these two bones. So yeah, we're kind of rigged up. Not bad. And the next thing I want to do is we need a reference image, because it's really hard to get smooth, lifelike animations just out of keyframing things blind. You know, like the best animators use reference images. And so what I've got here is the Pixar lamp animation. And he's hopping. Right? And we're going to match that. But we need to set up our file a little bit. And the way I brought this in is I just hit Shift A. Whoop. Oh, I'm in pose mode. Go back to object mode. Shift A brought in an image, a reference image, right? And then you just pick your video file, and that's jumped to 31 in my frames here, because that's where a little guy comes in. And I set my start and end points to kind of within, you know, what I'm going to be animating. So I'll have a nice little loop to preview for y'all here. And so 31, but I need to line this up with my lamp. If this is going to be my starting position, let's move it around a little bit. So I'm in object mode. Let's scale this guy up where he's about as big as my lamp, sorta. Then he's going the wrong way, so I'm going to hit in item and rotate it 180, so we are flipping it. Let's hit G and move him over. There we go. So we're in our starting position, right? And we're gonna hop. We're gonna keyframe this guy. So let's select our armature, go to pose mode, and down here we're gonna be keyframing stuff. So let's keyframe. Nowadays you can just hit I and you get a keyframe. Same thing with these will be our two main controlling bones, because we got everything parented up properly, where that's all we'll need to be controlling. And so we knock out a bunch of extra keyframing that you may have had to do manually by using that inverse kinematics tool. And so we'll hit I for him too. And you can see I'm seeing all my keyframes. You might have to go to view and uncheck only show selected. Right, and now I can see all my keyframes and get kind of a visual of what I'm doing up here. Okay, so we're hopping, right? But what a lot of like first time animators, especially in like the character rigging, bone rigging kind of rig based animations, is they don't put that little bit of time of your foot being planted. They'll have a keyframe immediately launch off from their landing position, and so that's how you get kind of glidey walk cycles sometimes, or glidey movement in general. So 1, 2, we're gonna keep our guy planted for an extra frame here and hit I. So bone 3. So see that? It stuck to the ground there for a second. And then I'm going to come to kind of the peak of the jump here. And that's where we're going to move him there and hit I. Then we're going to come back down and find the moment of planting down, hit G, I. And then our guy's moving a little fast, but I'm going to keep kind of the 2 frame rule on the foot being planted, maybe 3. I'm gonna hit I. We'll keep him planted there. Peak of the jump, that's what I'm wanting. G, I, and I'm just doing the base as this first pass. It's nice to get, you know, a rough animation layout and do it in passes and kind of fine-tune later. And so I'm just getting the base to hop around at first, and then we'll do the neck, and then I'll leave it to y'all after that to go into the refinement of things, right? So peak of the jump, we hit I. Let's go down to landing, G, I. So you see he's moving faster, so we're going to move a little faster. Instead of 3 frames on that one, hit I after 2. So it's a quick planting. And that's kind of a peak of a jump there. G, I, G, I. Now we're going to stay planted, but, oh yeah, 1, 2. I forgot. There's one more jump. What would y'all say is the peak of the jump there? That one? G, I, land, G, I. But we have a little slide because our little lamp character kind of stops. And so that makes sense to have your keyframe slide there. It makes sense physically. So let's just slide across. I. Okay, now what do we have? Let's check it out. Okay, we're kind of roughly there. Let's mess with the neck. All right. So when the foot's planted though, our head is usually coming down with momentum. So let's also start a little more extended, because I'm going to use the rotoscope, or the reference video for my movement, but because my lamp's a little taller, it might not exactly match, but I can still get a lot of info from the reference video. So we kind of squat, and we also do a little bit of looking like that. Eye. So I got those little like squat, jump, G, and I'm kind of curling in as my guy jumps a little bit there. Hit I. And we hit G, R, I. We're gonna kind of squat. G. Not much squatting. R. I. You can see I'm kind of curling with the effort from the jump there. I. Curling inwards. So we're coming back down. R. I. And we'll squat a little bit. G. R. I. And we're gonna kind of extend again. See, our guy's kind of turned inwards. We don't need to do that. R. I, because we're just kind of keeping it on the 2D side view here. G. I. And so we're a little off from our reference video there, but we want to squat. I. G. R. I. It just helps to have like a little reference base a little bit there. G. R. I. And then I'll do a little bit of that for I. And now let's see what we have. And we'll turn off our reference. Let's, a little bit of work can be done. It's a little jerky here and there. I can space some keyframes out. Let's see, what's jerky? This is. Maybe this needs to be spaced out a little bit. What do y'all think? Ah. That does too. How's that look? That helped out. So you can see how you can just get in there and do some nudges and whatnot. Help things move along. Also, you can see on our reference, rotating that foot can come in handy and help out. So that'd be something to get in there and rotate that foot. And make that a little more like a foot pivoting as it jumps through the air. Depending on, the animation rules you kind of give yourself for your model. Now with this setup, if I start rotating the foot, let's see. Oh, 3. Oh, okay, yeah. We got it. I could rotate that bone right there, but it's gonna rotate my whole model. So you're gonna want to rotate it back. To compensate there. How's that look? Could be more exaggerated on the rotation. But that's how you'd start to go in and refine some of that animation. But yeah, so that's, you know, how you can get started with animating a lamp rig. And refine from there and build an environment for it to interact in, and maybe some obstacles for it to hop over or knock over. And yeah, and get started on your lamp animation journey. All right, y'all, thanks for watching. See y'all next time.